What's up, guys? Welcome to Roensch Capital Charts. Today we're taking a look at the ever so popular S&P 500 ETF SPY, ticker symbol SPY, on a variety of time frames in anticipation of the next trading day, Tuesday, May 21st. All right, guys, SPY here today up 61 cents per share. That's plus 0.12% in regular trading hours. Looking ahead to tomorrow, first of all, we have a few macroeconomic things going on. Really no data or anything. What it is, guys, is we're getting Fed speakers, 5 of them, from 9 a.m. Eastern time all the way until 11:45 a.m. Eastern time, and then again at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So expect some Fed comments here tomorrow. That's really about it, though. So listen, let's take a look. Let's get as good of an understanding as we can possibly pull out of the market here today for tomorrow, Tuesday. We're going to look at the volume profile, the psychological levels that we need to be aware of as traders and investors. We'll look at implied volatility, expected move, and the directional bias coming out of the chain. So let's get started here on the 5-minute chart with our volume profile analysis. Listen, guys, SPY is a daily upload. If you're new here, I appreciate you subscribing to the channel. My goal here is 10,000, and I know we can hit it, but not without your help. So I appreciate it, and I will keep the videos coming daily. So looking at under the hood here at the volume profile, what we're really trying to do is pull out, okay, was there any obvious bias like underneath the waves? Because the price action, it happened. We all know what happened, but not all 2 moves are created equal. Even equal moves are not necessarily created equal, and we can pull that from the volume profile. So here today, contextual open, what I think is interesting is I'm going to go ahead and assign a small amount of bullish bias on that first upside move, kind of a little not long after the open. We started to get a push back upside in volume, and then it faded off quickly with 1 red bar in the mix. To me, that's slightly lopsided to the bullish side, not tremendously so at all, because typically what we would see, contextually speaking, is volume maybe down here at that time of day, at least here on SPY. And then through the day, we see kind of a lot of offsetting each other. Like that kind of cancels each other out. This kind of cancels each other out. Not a lot going on. That candle as well has a large wick, which tells us it was a battle bar, a lot of buying and selling going on at the same time. And then I know a lot of you guys are looking at this close here. These two, I'm going to need to ignore those, because on SPY, we know that each volume bar straddling the closing bell, those both are always going to be, or at least most of the time, rebalancing bars. Algorithmically driven buying and selling, and it tends to pump volume through the roof. So, I mean, the volume, like if we could go ahead and compare that to last Friday, you can see it was actually lower volume. Okay, so it looks tremendous when we're just looking at it this way, but it's actually rather contextual. So we really can't go assigning too much bias there. So really all we're getting here is a small amount of bullish bias not long after the open, and that's about it here for the volume profile. So let's move on. Let's get started looking at those psychological self-fulfilling prophecy areas, starting here on the 30-minute chart. We have the 50 period and the 200 period. The 50 is the white, the 200 is the gray. And you guys remember from the weekend video, on Friday we had reclaimed the 50 period, and we were looking to hold that. Off the open here this morning, we got a hold, okay, but it was a little sloppy, but we pushed hard off of that level off the open. However, we just barely gave it up heading into the close, but we were basically straddling that level for the last hour and a half of the day here today. So looking ahead to tomorrow, here's what I'm really looking for. Bulls, really simple. Any downside test of the 200 period, I want to hold that as support, but the real goal is to get back upside through the 50 period, retest it on low volume, whereas it's likely to take higher volume to get up through in a clean manner, I suppose we'd say. Getting up there through on high volume, retesting on low volume, and then boom, bouncing on high volume yet again away from the level. That's a break, retest, and confirmation all in the same day. That would be beautiful from a bullish perspective. Bears, upon any retest of that white line, the 50 period, you guys really want to start confirming that as resistance, because it wasn't really done so today, or it wasn't really done today. We just barely broke it to the downside into the close. That's not a break and confirmation. It's just barely a break. So tomorrow, bears, I'd really like to see a hard rejection off the 50 period. That would set you guys up for a potential near-term downside test of that 200 period, which is ultimately the goal, to break that downside as well. Now, the 4-hour, you can see here, guys, that we are currently about 1% away from the 50 period here on the 4-hour. So if the stock were, or the ETF, I suppose, were to dump off here tomorrow and make that level in play again, well, then I'm clearly watching it for support as a bull or a downside break as a bear. But really, since it's not immediately in play unless we were to see a 1% downside day, what I'm kind of watching more so from a bullish perspective is I just want to see that white line continue to ascend at this aggressive rate that it's been doing here the last couple of weeks, because all that does is put a psychological barrier of potential support back to the downside, right? It puts it higher underneath the current price of the ETF, which is, of course, a good thing. So that's really all I'm watching here on the 4-hour. Now, the most important chart of all is the daily. Now, you guys remember yesterday, we were talking a lot about 530 heading into here Monday. Well, 530 is still very much in play. We were finally able to break above and close just above 530, but you can see really clearly here on the daily, we're still struggling with that area. Okay, we're kind of struggling with that recent all-time high. We kind of wicked up, came back down here today. So, I mean, bulls, I'm kind of over this game a little bit the last 4 days. What I'm really, really looking for is to use 530 as kind of a trampoline to push up through to an all-time high and put undeniable clearance between this region we've been struggling with the last couple of 4 days or so. What does that mean? Well, really, I think it means at least closing up toward 532-ish, ideally. I think that would be a really, really great power move out of the bulls, just to say, okay, we're done with this little hiccup that we've had the last couple of days. That's really my ideal from a bullish perspective. But bears, you know, for you guys, this is a good way to buy time. But you bears haven't really proved anything either. It's time to reject, right? 530, use it as a resistance. Finally, it's about time to reject hard on big volume and get down, ideally, I would say, down below. I mean, really, you're looking at down below 528, at least for a close, right? Because this is kind of like a $4 wide channel, kind of straddling 530. Now, implied volatility here, particularly important for you options traders. Up a little bit here today. You can still see very low in comparison to the last 1 month, the last 3 months, right? It's very, very low. So in terms of buying options, calls or puts, you're paying very little Vega value up front right now, which is not necessarily a bad thing. All right. Now, expected move, of course, we have the luxury of daily expirations here on SPY. The expected move by tomorrow's close compared to today's close being priced in by the market is plus or minus $2.05. Now, by design, guys, remember, there's no directional bias baked in there. That is quite literally the expected volatility. It's the one standard deviation expected move being priced in by the traders. So if you disagree with that, that's a good thing, because if you couple that opinion you have that disagrees with the market about volatility, you couple that with your directional opinion, that could be a strong position for you. All right, now, but you might be thinking, okay, well, what about directional bias? Let's look at volume. 6.15 million total contracts traded here today, 2.44 million calls, and 3.71 million puts. That's a bearish bias on the overall ratio. We start breaking that down by time frame. We go to the 0 to 20 delta range to get the short-term speculators. Out of that group, we get 758,000 calls and 1.84 million puts. So we're seeing a bearish bias out of the short-term speculators here on SPY as well today. Listen, if you get value out of the daily SPY uploads, guys, I greatly appreciate you leaving a like on the video. It's the best thing you can do for the channel, and it is free. And then get out of here and enjoy your day. I appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.